Thank you very much and welcome. We'll move straight to the next session of our presentation. We'll respectfully invite Mr. Chris Ameu to walk us through the MPI results for the 30 districts. Let's please put our hands together for him, please.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Chris. And, all right, thank you, Selassie. All right, thank you. And so this morning, I'll share with us very quickly 2 innovative products that the service has come out with. One is the multi-dimensional poverty reports for 30 districts. And 2, a fact sheet or scorecard for 261 districts of Ghana. So let me start with the MPI. Traditionally, we have measured poverty in this country and many other places using the expenditure approach. And so if you live on an X amount of dollar or less, if you spend less amount of dollar, what it means is that you are considered as poor. But the question is, has that really revealed the multiple areas of deprivation that we face as a people? And the answer, obviously, is no. And so globally, the global community from 2010 has added a new approach to measuring poverty, which is a multidimensional poverty index. And this look at the other areas of poverty and deprivation that we face as a people. And so Ghana certainly has also adopted this approach and have come up with some reports on the MPI. AHIS, Quarter 1, I think we have a report on MPI. I think Census 2, we have a report on MPI. But this report ended at the regional level. The reporting ended at the regional level. And so the service think that it's important to go down to the lower level, the subnational level, the district level, and provide key information that will be useful for decision making at the district level. And that is why we've come up with 30 reports for the MPI. Now, what is the approach or what's the methodology? Please go down for me. Good. And so this approach basically looks at 4 dimensions. That is living standard, education, health, and wage employment. And for each of the dimensions, there are indicators. The living standard has 7 indicators, education has 3, health has 3, wage employment has 1. And that together makes 13 indicators. And for each of the dimensions and indicators, they have weights that we apply for cutoff. We may want to understand what we mean by if you are deprived, for instance, for an indicator like electricity. And so if you are deprived for an indicator like electricity, what it means is that your household that do not have electricity at all. And we have households in this country who do not have electricity, isn't it? If you are deprived in terms of toilets, what it means is that your household has no toilet facility or uses buckets or pan, public toilet, shared toilets, and all of that. If you are deprived in terms of water, what it means is that your household drinking water so for conditions. Well, so to be multidimensionally poor means that you should be deprived in 1/3 or more of these 30 indicators I mentioned. And the indicators, we mentioned them already. And so that will make us to be able to compute what's the incidence of poverty and the intensity of poverty. And so we need to understand what we mean by incidence. And by incidence, we basically is looking at the population that is poor. Who is poor? So in terms of the numbers, in terms of the proportion, how many people are poor in that district? That is the incidence. And in terms of intensity, we look at the depth or severity of poverty. So of those that are poor, among those that are poor, okay, what is the intensity of poverty among the poor people? Basically, that's the intensity. So you hear in the highlights me talk about intensity, talk about, incidence. So we have prepared 30 of these reports, and we're hoping that we can upscale that to the rest of the 231 districts that are yet to be prepared. So these are the 30 reports, and so for each of the 16 administrative regions, at least there's a district here that has an MPI report, right from Ebuakwa North to West Mamprosi. And so now I'll take you to the highlights of one of the reports, which is Aguna West in the Central Region. So in this district, Aguna West, there's a total of 28,283 people who are multidimensionally poor. And that is a little over a fifth of the total population in that district. And among the poor, the average share of deprivation is 43.8%, and that is the intensity of poverty, as I have explained earlier. So among these poor people, which is the incidence, you have an intensity of 43.8%. If you consider the rural-urban perspective, of the people living in the districts, here you have 35.8% of the population in the rural areas of the districts who are poor or poorer than those living in urban localities. And this is about 19.4 percentage points. And so poverty is higher in the rural areas of the municipality than the urban areas. Now, in terms of the deprivations that people experience, which are the indicators we look at earlier or I explained earlier, here the highest deprivation for the people in the municipality are the use of unimproved toilets, health insurance coverage, and unemployment or employment. What it means here is that the poor people in these districts, the deprivations they suffer are in these three indicators: toilets, housing, and what? Toilets, health insurance coverage, and employment. Indeed, you have two of the 13 indicators, contributing almost 60% to the incidence of poverty in the district. Just two: employment and health insurance coverage. Just two of the 13, contributing almost 60% of the incidence of poverty in the districts. From the perspective of sex, male who is, you have the female, this is female-headed households and male-headed households. And so the female-headed households are 26.4%, MPI poorer than the male-headed households, and a little over a quarter. And so there's more MPI, multidimensional poverty, among the female-headed households in the district than male. Then we look at level of education as to whether you are educated, you have basic, you have secondary, or you are not educated at all, and your level of multidimensional poverty. And here again, the data reveal that for those who do not have education, the are 36.3% multidimensionally poor compared to those who have basic education, secondary education, and tertiary education. And so for those who do not have education at all, what it means is that in these districts, they are multidimensionally poorer. And then we look at where they work, whether you are working in the private informal sector or the private formal sector or the public sector. And so among the heads of households working in the private sector, multidimensional poverty is 2 times higher for those in the informal private sector compared to those in the formal, private sector and the public sector. And then we look at the sector of employment, whether you are in agric, you are in industry, you are in the service sector. And so for households that are in the agric sector, they are 26.5%, multidimensionally poorer, which is 3 times more than those in the industry and the services sector. We also looked at the MPI of the 20 largest localities in the district, and that's what you see on the map on my left. And so we pull out for the 20 largest localities and try to see the multidimensional poverty of these localities. And what we see here is that for the first locality, Anhuem, okay, it recorded the incidence of poverty, of 68.6% compared to Kokrentumi, which has 18.8%. And this is critical because then if you want to affect development, you not only want to look at the district in general, but you want to look at the pocket of population in the rural localities. And for that matter, even the segment of the population that you want to impact, indeed. And so if the district development authorities and stakeholders who really want to affect development in their districts, they need to go beyond just looking at the district capital, but go to the locality level and see where really the poverty issues are. And that's why we try to provide these 20 largest localities and the MPI. So this is just one of the 30 reports. And so with this, you can have access to all the 30 reports. We're hoping that we're going to upscale that to all the other districts very, very, very soon. Let me now go straight to talk about the fact sheets also on this MPI. And the fact sheets we have done for all 261 districts. And this is for Ablekuma Central District. Also, this is the Greater Accra region. And so the fact sheet provides at a glance, straight away, the multidimensional poverty issues in the districts. It looks at incidence and intensity. So you might want to stop here. Please go up a little for me. Okay. So straight away, it gives you a glance of the multidimensional poverty issues, and it compares the intensity of poverty and the incidence of poverty. So if you take this district, Ablekuma Central, you're comparing its MPI against the region, which is Greater Accra, because Ablekuma is in Greater Accra, and you compare that with the average for the country Ghana. So if you take Ablekuma, total, they have an MPI of 9.4, which is lower than the regional average of 11.7, and also lower than the average of Ghana, which is 24.3. If you look at urban-rural, okay, so for urban localities in that district, it has an MPI of 9.4. For the region, it has 10.5. For Ghana, it has what? 14.6. If you take rural, and here you don't see rural, because then what it means is that Ablekuma is urban, 100% urban. There's no rural locality. You might want to come down and look at sets of head of household, okay? Male, female. You have 7.3 for the district. You have 9.1 for the region. And again, you have 23 for Ghana. For male and female, you have 13.5. You have 16.9 for Greater Accra region, and you have 27% for Ghana. In terms of intensity, same, you are looking at in terms of intensity. So whilst they have an incidence of 9.4, they have an poverty intensity of 45.2. So among the poor, there are more poorer people. That's what it means. Among the poor population, which is 9.4, there are more poorer people in that population, which is 45.2. 45.2. And for the region, it's 43.3. So the intensity there is a bit higher than the regional average, same as for Ghana. If you want to look at industry, agric, industry, and civic sector, whilst for incidence is 4.3, intensity, you are looking at, I'm talking about agric. So incidence 4.3, intensity 44.3. So you see the intensity is very, very high in that district, And for the region, it has 21.2, and there 41.6, also higher than, So this is the scorecard or the fact sheet for all 261 districts. And you pick this at a glance, it provides you a very good picture of multidimensional poverty in the district. Please go down. So let's try to understand the deprivations in terms of the indicators that I explained earlier. So clearly, if you look at this plot here, it explains the deprivations that people experience in the municipality. And what it means here is that you have the use of unimproved toilets, okay? 78, the highest, 78.3. The use of unimproved toilets is a major issue in these districts. A major issue. And that is followed by insurance. That has lack of health insurance coverage. What it means that there are some population or households that are not covered by health insurance at the time we conducted the census. And then that goes to overcrowding. So you have an average of more than 3 people sleeping in one room. That is the meaning of the overcrowding. You have more than 3 average sleeping in one room. So it provides you the deprivations the people suffer or experience in the district. And then the contribution of these indicators, if you look at the contributions to the deprivations there, employment is please go down, let's understand the legend. Okay. So the red is for Ablekuma, the light blue is for Ghana, and the other color, Greater Accra. So if you look at the contributions to the indicators, you would see employment having 51.3, and so employment is also, and that is wage employment having an issue. They look at Ablekuma compared to Ghana, it's again also health insurance coverage. You have 22.5 compared to, the average for Ghana. All right. So basically, this go to the last part. Okay. So I'll leave this part because it has policy implications, and the director for Social Directorate, Mr. Umar, would give us a little one on this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chris. As Chris did indicate, we all know that poverty is one of the biggest problems in many countries in the global south. And if we look back, we see that there have been a lot of interventions in the past couple of decades to try to address the issue of poverty. So the thinking is that some of the programs, the policies may not be well targeted because many times we are not sure exactly where the poor people are and how they are differently affected. So, for instance, in Ablekuma, for every 1 kilometer square, okay, 1,000 by 1,000 grade, if you pick, unfortunately I don't have it, if you pick the last part here, exactly, what we're seeing is that between 17 to 19% of the people there are poor, multidimensionally poor. But then, the number of persons who are actually poor are between 100 and 968. Compared to a place at the very top of, exactly. Okay, which is within the same district, you can see that if you trace it, it is up there, which means that between 10 and 17% of the population there are multidimensionally poor, and you are talking of over 3,000 persons, 3,000 to 3,600 persons who are affected. So you can understand that if you have to target any policy interventions in Ablekuma, different parts of that district need to be deliberately targeted for different interventions. And that is one of the key drivers and objectives for preparing the 261 multidimensional poverty reports for all the districts. The other thing this is going to help us achieve, if policymakers put our mind to it, is the fact that the allocation of resources to districts is based on a formula that the District Assembly Common Fund uses. Unfortunately, in that formula, because we hardly have district level poverty indices in this country. So it's not one of the key drivers of how much resources are allocated to different districts. So our expectation is that this would help drive that kind of conversation where the key things that need to inform the allocation of resources to different districts, because they are all at different levels of improving the livelihood and the well-being of the people. And so this will further provide us that. Secondly, if you look at what Chris presented first, the 30 MPI reports, it delves deeper into the communities and the deprivations that are experienced by the different areas are also captured in there. So the expectation is that even when you go within the district, whilst this one would provide you a good overview, you would need to go deeper and understand what are the deprivations at the different locations. And so this is one of the key things that we are hoping that would help the government of Ghana and Parliament in particular. Thankfully, we have had some initial engagement with the Poverty Strategy Committee of Parliament, and they are very much looking forward to this report. So our expectation is that we need to engage widely, and this is where we believe that the media can play a key role in pushing this through to get almost all the districts in their medium-term plans. How much information do they have about the poverty situation in their districts? This is one of the products that can help them achieve that. Thank you very much.
Let's please put our hands together for Mr. Chris Assem and Director Omar Said. Chris Senyo Amehu. Unfortunately, Sheikh Omar Saidu. Let's put our hands together for them once again. I'm told, Sheikh, you have a Ghanaian name, but I will see you in chambers then. I'll mention your Ghanaian name later on. Thank you very much. We'll move on to let's put our hands together for Chris Senyo Amehu as he take his say. We'll move on to the next section of our presentation. We'll welcome Mr. Samuel Kwaku to walk us through a demonstration of the Agri Portal. Let's please welcome him wherever he is. Mr. Kwaku, please. Let's keep clapping whilst he's taking. The fantasy will say Sankofa Inchi. We'll go back and invite our brother Selassie to walk us through the presentation. Let's please welcome Selassie.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Okay, so standing on all protocols mentioned earlier, I'll be presenting on the rasterized or gridded data platform. So the gridded data platform is a platform that goes to the Stats Bank. You get data there at the district level. But then we, as a service, we wanted to provide data at a lower level that will allow people to then go to certain catchment areas of their studies to be able to assess what are the, let me say, indicators in there. But as a service, as part of our mandate, we are supposed to also protect the identity of individuals that we pick data from. So what we did was to create a grid across the country, which is in 1,000 by 1,000 meters, and then capture data in that grid. And within 1,000 by 1,000 meters, it will be hard to identify someone. So let's say you are the only person with a master's or a PhD in a particular area. Within 100 meters, which I would say is like from here to the end of this room, you can identify who that person is within the area. But then when I say 1,000 meters, multiply this length by 10 times. It will be hard for you to even walk around to identify who exactly we are talking about. So that's what this platform is about. So the first thing you can do on this platform is to search for a locality of interest. Peter. Okay, so you can search for any locality of interest. We are going to search for a locality here. So we are going with Nandom. So once you come into the platform, it will automatically, once you search for the locality, it will zoom to that area. Then you can then start by highlighting the grids that form part of your study area. So you click on the lasso tool, and then you highlight a number of grids that form part of your study area. Okay, now once you select that, the indicators that we currently have on the platform, which is population by the age groups, education level, and then literacy, would automatically adjust to give you what the numbers are combined within those grid cells. Now, the whole concept here is that if within 1,000 by 1,000 meters, there are still just 100 people. There are less than 100 people living there. The algorithm amalgamates the grid to the adjacent grid. So the whole idea is we shouldn't have less than 100 people in a particular area of catchment. That's the level of anonymization. So if we go to 1,000 by 1,000 meters and there are still less than 100 people there, we merge it to the adjacent cells to form one grid. And so you would see that for some of our cells, they have this funny shape that are not exactly squares. Some of them have this L shape in them. So that's what is happening here. So basically, that's what this side of the platform does. Now, for those who want to go for more detailed analysis, we've created an extra tool, which we are calling the Analyst tool. So once you click on that, it will take you to this next platform. Now, this platform has the same interface as the other one, just that it doesn't have the indicators on the side as we have on the landing page. But then with this one, you can click the same lasso tool. So you come to the top corner, you go to select, then you say, you can select whether you want to use a polygon to select your area or a lasso. So we go back to the lasso. Then we go back to our search box at the left-hand corner to search for the name of our locality of interest. Okay. Now, once it zooms in here, we are going to do a highlight of our area of interest. So we come back to our select tool, make sure it's activated, select. Yeah, then we come and highlight our area of interest. Now, once you highlight it, you realize that the numbers by the Ghana file here changes from 0 to 41, which means that this area of interest has 41 grid cells forming part of it. Then you can click back on, still on the selection tool. You can click on the 3 dots by the 41, and then this would allow you to download the data as an Excel, a GeoJSON, or a shapefile. So we'll click on CSV, and once you click on that, you see that it will download the Excel for you. So you can now open that Excel, feature 1, yeah. And then you have the data in the various brackets for each of the grid cells that you have just extracted. So then with this, you can then sum up and then get the values for your area of interest and then put that in your study. So now you have information not just at the district level, but in case your study is just a small locality, you can now search for those localities and then get information at just that small area level. This part of the platform is free, which is 1,000 by 1,000 meters. But then we are looking at developing it to a point where for people who want it at a final level, we would put it out for a fee. So let's say you want something at 100 by 100 meter, the institution is going to charge you a fee to generate that for you. And we hope that by the end of the month, we should have the housing characteristics appended to this data that people can then use for their research. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's a little more technical. So if you have any question that you want to ask, please raise your hand. He's here to address your concerns, please. I think we are okay. So let's put our hands together for him once again. 75 years and we are still counting. This is a very innovative product for Ghana Statistical Service. Let's put our hands together for the management of Ghana Statistical Service and the entire staff of Ghana Statistical Service. Hey, data pedide, data pedide. Please come alive. It is well. I've learned something, a white noise and a black noise from our professor in him. So I was with my friends and I asked them, do you understand what's the meaning of a white noise and a black noise? They were looking at me, I said, do you understand? I said, okay, let me explain. And he said, Statistical Service, per our current agenda, we are moving to a different level as an institution. So we are trying as much as possible to let people know what we do as an institution. So per our 75 years, this is what, by the grace of God, we have managed to do. We have come out as an institution. We are still counting. The next presenter will walk us through the demonstrator Greek portal. So let's welcome our brother and friend, Mr. Samuel Kwaku, to walk us through the Greek portal presentation. Let's put our hands together for him. A data scientist of Ghana Statistical Service. Please, it's in one form. Let's put our hands together for him, please.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. All protocol observed. So I'm here to briefly take us through a product that we developed in-house and another that we are making use of from one of our international partners. So this is a portal. It actually started life as a dashboard exactly last year when we were celebrating the African Statistics Day. There was a dashboard that we used to display or disseminate commodity price movements within the year. So after the African Statistics Week, we looked at how we could enhance it and then make it a little, address other issues that we had in-house. That is the dissemination of all our agriculture and environment statistics. So we developed it into a portal. So that is what I am going to demonstrate. And then thereafter, I will have to demonstrate another portal from the African Development Bank Group. They are running a program called the GSAS, Global Strategy for the Dissemination of Rural and Agricultural Statistics. So on the workshops that we've been attending, they introduced the portal and they want us to start using it because they are trying to harmonize all the statistics from developing countries into one portal. So now we are attempting to put the two portals together and then make sure that we don't duplicate the process. We had already started a product in-house, but once they introduce this one to us, we are looking for ways to harmonize the dissemination to avoid duplication. So whilst we wait for the technical team to Mr. MC, I'm being summoned to come up. So can you please briefly take over whilst we fix that technical issue? The porter doesn't want to come up. Thank you.
Let's please put our hands together for our brother. We're having some technical challenges, but we'll move on to the next presentation. We'll welcome Mr. Omar Seydou and Judith Popolampo to walk us through the release of the special education aid. Let's please welcome Mr. Omar, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Judy Weki Puplampu, as has been mentioned, and I will be presenting on a report on school resources and children with special education needs. Right, so this is a report that is in the spirit of the Sustainable Development Goal 4, leave no one behind, ensuring inclusive, equitable, quality education, and promoting long life learning opportunities for all. So worldwide, children with special education needs form the majority of children who have been left out of school. We have 240 million children with different kinds of disabilities, and more often than not, among children who have never been to school, they form the largest or a substantial proportion of that group. And oftentimes in policies that are implemented, these children happen to be overlooked. In Ghana, the 1992 Constitution has stated that all persons shall have the right to equal educational opportunities and facilities with a view to achieving the full realization of the right basic education. So in light to achieve that right, education shall be free, compulsory, and available to all. And therefore, Ghana is committed to provide free education for all persons with disability and establish special schools for such children. In addition, the global community, United Nations Convention, has also established a Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which was enforced in 2008. And this is to ensure that all parties will commit to providing inclusive education systems at all levels. This report that we put together is based on findings from the Population and Housing Census. So following the inclusive education policy that was set up or enacted by Ghana in 2015, the data from the census has been looked at to see more or less what is the picture at the moment. It has been revealed that 7,794,740 children aged 15 to 15 years, 5 to 15 years, have difficulty in performing activities. Let me retake that statement. We have 7,794,740 children aged 5 to 15, so school-going age. But then out of that group, we have 219,000 who have difficulty performing activities. And of that group, a whole 16% are out of school. Out of school in that they have never been to school. Now, the objective of this report is to identify access to special education facilities for children with difficulties in performing activities by region and by district, so that we don't look only at the national level or regional level, but we look deeper into the disaggregation level by district. In addition, we want to look at the proportion of children, we want to look at the availability of schools in the various regions, special schools. So to the highlights, the distribution of the schools, special education facilities across the nation, it's not even. And we have 5 regions in the country that have no special education facilities. These are Northeast, Savannah, Oti, Bono, and Western North. As I mentioned earlier, we have a number of children moving to the school attendance. We have a number of children who have never been to school. So totally, overall, across the country, 673,949 children out of the 7 million we talked about have never been to school. But with this group, 16% of these, that is 1 in 6 approximately, are children with disability. all right? Different kinds of difficulties in performing activities. So that's what this donut is trying to describe. On the right, we have the value for the whole population and 5 to 15 years. And on the right, we have children 5 to 15 years with difficulty who have never been to school. Now, looking at the general distribution of schools, regular schools across the country, we can see that virtually all districts in Ghana have basic schools. There are basic schools in almost all districts. But then, despite this very homogeneous and widespread distribution of basic schools, we still have some districts where more than half of the children have never been to school. Specifically, Gushegu, North Gonja, Central Gonja, and Karaga have above 50% of children overall never having attended school. Now, narrowing down to the population who have difficulty in performing activities, we can see that there are quite a number of districts, 42 districts, and most of them in the northern part of Ghana. Maybe we can show the map, where more than a quarter of children with special education needs have never been to school. So those are the areas highlighted in the deeper red. Now, there are varying disparities within regions, and that's the chart on the right side, where we can see that the highest disparities are in the northern region and upper east regions. So that's the longest bars, showing that we have very low values, but we also have very high values. The percentages of children who have never been to school among those who have difficulty. And they are the highest, and then we have the regions with the lowest disparities being Ahafo, Central, and Western regions. Right. Now, in addition, despite these disparities, we can see that there are districts that have the highest values across the nation, and then some districts with the lowest values. What we mean is that, looking at the next section, you can see that the chart on the left is describing 3 top and 3 bottom districts. The 3 top districts means that in these 3 districts across the whole country, the proportion of children with difficulty who have never been to school are the highest. And we have, like I mentioned, Gushegu. We also have North Gonja, and we have Zabzugu. And the highest percentages over there are from 58% all the way to 72.5%, meaning almost to 3/4 of the children who have one form of difficulty or another have never been to school. They form 3/4 of those who have never been to school. I hope I'm making sense. I hope you're able to follow. So, on the other hand, at the lowest end, we have the 3 districts on the bottom, Swame Municipal, Brekum West, and Ayawaso West, in which the 0 that you see there means that there is no child with any kind of physical difficulty who has never been to school in those districts. So out of the population of children who have never been to school, none of them is a child with difficulty. And that is a very good finding. Right, I believe we can. Okay, so looking at the chart on the right, this tells us the number of districts within each region that fall within, it's a percentile demonstration. So the number of districts that fall within the first percentile or first decile, the 10%. In Ashanti, we have 29 districts in which the average proportion of children who have never been to school is 10%. Okay, 1/10. 1 in 10 of all the children who have never been to school is a child with difficulty in performing activity in 29 districts within the Ashanti region. So the regions with the highest are the Ashanti, Greater Accra, and then Central. according to what is depicted in this chart. Right, so let's move on to narrowing further into the various types of difficulty. Now, what we did was that based on how the census has categorized the levels or degrees of difficulty, we collapsed the last two categories, the last two categories, to create a category called severe difficulty. So the census asked questions like no difficulty at all, mild difficulty, a lot of difficulty, and cannot perform the activity at all. So we collapsed the last two, a lot of difficulty plus cannot, to create a single severe difficulty degree of impairment. And we noticed that, and then the census also looks at 6 different domains within which persons with disability have difficulty in performing activities. And these 6 domains include speech, hearing, sight, and then intellectual, so concentrating and remembering, self-care, and physical activities. So in 65 districts across the country, we have children with severe difficulty accounting for more than half of those who have never been to school. So once again, we are looking at the population who has never been to school. Within that population, what proportion have a particular type of difficulty? And the highest disparities are seen in the Greater Accra region and Ashanti region, whilst Northern region has the lowest disparity or lowest variation within from district to district. Yes. So this is for speech. We can move on to the next one, which is hearing. We can see that out of all the children with difficulty who have never been to school, in 14 districts, we have more than half of them having hearing difficulty. All right? 14 districts across the country. And the Northern region, once again, has the least disparities within regions. But then the one with the highest disparity is the Western North. And we can see at the bottom there. Meaning that in Western North region, we have some districts where very few children with disability are out of school, particularly severe hearing difficulty. But then we also have districts where almost every child who is out of school amongst those with difficulty has a severe hearing difficulty. Moving on to sight, the picture or the situation within the sight domain is quite different. And here we have 3 districts in Ghana where more than 40% who have never been to school have difficulty in seeing. And these 3 districts are Buakwa North, Weja, Bawe, and Etiwa West. Now we can see that this map doesn't have a lot of red or deep red color in it. The fact is, there is no district with more than half of children being out of school who have sight difficulty. The highest value is 50% in Etiwa West. All the rest of the districts have values below that, meaning that most of the children who have severe sight difficulty are still able to get into school, are either attending or have attended school before. And that is also very, very good. In general, the picture that we can see from the disparity shows that looking at the average within the region, in most districts, we have 10% or less of children who have never been to school being children with severe sight difficulty. Right, so moving on to challenges with remembering or concentrating. Once again, there are 42 different districts across the country where more than half of the children who have never been to school are children who have severe intellectual challenges or difficulties. That's concentrating or remembering. And again, it's clear from the map how these are distributed mainly in the southern part of the country. The intra-regional disparities also show how Ashanti, Eastern, and Greater Accra have the greatest disparities. Some districts where almost all such children are in school, and districts where almost all children actually have never been to school. Next is self-care. Within the self-care domain, the picture is similar, well, quite similar to the previous one, where we have 48 districts, again, mostly in the southern part of the country, with more than half of those who have never attended school being children with difficulty, severe difficulty in self-care. And the lowest disparity is seen in the Ahafo region, where the average disparity is about 26.4%. Talking about physical difficulty, once again, this time there are 31 districts within which children who have difficulty and are out of school, their main challenge is severe physical difficulty. And looking at the disparities, we can see that except for the Upper West and the northern regions, in all other regions there is at least one district where all children with severe physical difficulty are in school. All the green dots we see on the left side means that the percentage of those who are out of school is 0. So there is at least one district in each of those regions where all children with severe physical difficulty are in school. And that also shows that at least they have quite encouraging access to educational facilities. So these more or less are the highlights that have taken us through, starting from the general picture in the overall population 5 to 15 years across the country, and then narrowing down to the population with any form of difficulty in performing activities, and then narrowing further down to the various domains, children with severe difficulty within each of the domains. So in conclusion, we can see that Ghana is committed to providing inclusive education, and however, despite the policy that was enacted in 2015, there is still a relatively high percentage of children who have severe difficulties in at least one of the 6 categories who still has never been to school, has never accessed educational facilities. Now, in most districts, like I mentioned earlier, we have more than 90% of children with severe challenges in seeing who have been to school before. And that, like I mentioned, is a very great sign. It suggests that the policy may have achieved great strides in enrolling children with severe sight difficulties as compared to other domains. We have also observed high intra-regional disparities, and these may be pointing to uneven distribution of educational resources to achieve inclusive education. So it was also observed overall that there are 3 districts, and I mentioned them earlier. There is no child 5 to 15 years with difficulty in performing activities who has never been to school. Said in another way, every child with severe difficulty has been to school before or is currently in school. So looking at the very homogeneous and good spread of schools, basic school, junior high, and primary schools across the country, this gives us hope that there are opportunities to access basic education by every child, thus achieving inclusive education in Ghana in the medium to long term. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Judy. So, as previously said in the other presentation, the idea of this is to inform Ghana's inclusive policy, education policy. You realize that we have only about 28 or so special educational facilities spread across the country. But the Ministry of Education, as a policy, and it is based on engagement with the other partners, decided that there's no point pushing the establishment of more specialized educational facilities that may further exclude children with difficulties in performing activities away. So they need to be part of the other educational systems. And this policy is showing that we may be able to achieve that if we put our minds to it. So what we are seeking to do is to bring out this to help the ministry, and we are aware that they are revising the policy so that they know that, yes, the policy can be achieved if there's a fair distribution of educational resources, especially teachers, special education teachers. Because as you saw, with sight, we have less than 10%, in most districts, less than 10% of children who have that difficulty who have never been to school. But in the other domains, we have a lot of them who have never been to school, which means that there is something that can be done to help all the other children have access to education. So we believe this can further provide some insight to the Ministry of Education in the revision of the policy on inclusive education. And in the next couple of weeks, we would go further and provide, this is for children 5 to 15 years, who are expected to have completed junior high school. So we would be looking at those 15 to 24 years who have never been to school, not in employment, and not in a training. The figures we are seeing already suggest that if something is not done, it means that these are a group of young people in this country who are likely to be left behind. And the goal is to ensure no one is left behind. Thank you very much.
Let's please put us together again for Judy Popolampo and Mr. Omar. We'll now move on to our last presentation. We'll welcome our brother Samuel Kweku to walk us through the demonstration and Agri Portal. Let's put us together for him, please.
Very sorry for the earlier glitch. So the best we could do now for showing you the system we developed in-house is to give you some screenshots because of the technical issues. So it's an agricultural portal. This is the login screen. So once you go in, you have the front page. We're trying to make it look a little beautiful though. So the left-hand side, the left box will be a slider showing you some summary statistics and visualizations. And then you see the icons on the various modules that we have within the system. Yeah, so this is a time series for our commodities items. So these are some visualizations, a tree map, a bar, and you can see we have grouped the commodities based on, I think we use the COICOP classification. All right, so we have a price statistics search screen. So here, you have the commodity name, the year, the month, and the category. So you could search for multiple commodities, multiple years. You could see it for the whole year, or you could select specific months, and then the category where we have wholesale and then retail. And then it will give you a visualization of the movement of the prices for those commodities. So this is an example of such a search for some items. All right, so we also have some interesting visualizations, a bubble plot for all the items. So this is wholesale and retail. The differences, the main differences of the prices for 2019. So that's a stack bar showing the distributions of the. So this is a production data showing in metric tons the distribution of the crops for each region. We can't show you everything, so we just selected some few to show you. Okay, so that's another search for some 3 items. Okay, so this is what our system is working on. It's still work in progress, but you could see for every search, it generates the visuals or the visualizations for you. So this was just Bono region, Ashanti, and Ahafo. So it plots all the visualizations based on the search criteria that the person puts in. And then you can always download. Let's go back to the previous screen. Yeah, so we provide several formats that you can download the data once you did the search. Yeah, so these are screenshots from the application that we develop in Ghana Statistical Service. But we want to show you also what the Open Data Portal from the African Development Bank Group, which works in a similar way. So, as I said earlier, we are trying to harmonize the 2 platforms so that one will focus perhaps on the detail and the other will focus on highlights. So let's go into the system. So here we have loaded almost all the data from our agriculture section in Ghana Statistical Service. So let's go to my data sets. So under this section, this is what we have loaded into the platform so far. The same data you saw on the earlier screenshots, that's wholesale and retail prices for agricultural commodities. But here we have cocoa prices, we have production data by district, production data by region, and then the comparison between the regions. So let's look at just the national average wholesale and retail price. Select data set. Okay, so this is a very rich screen consisting of the categories of items. Here we use the customs procedure codes, the CPC codes, to classify the items because that's the standard that is used by the World Bank, IMF, who also pull data from this platform. So you have cereals, oilseeds, and fruits, grain meal, and all that. So we just want to demonstrate how it works. And it's already live. If once you get the URL, you can. So let's select some few items, some few cereals, some oil seeds, just one here, one there. And then come to indicator. So for the indicator, you have the wholesale and the retail. So you can select the 2 and then come to the time. But because we have just, go to all data and let's change individual members. Yeah. So these are the timelines that have been defined. You can select which ones you want to display, or you can just select for all of them. Okay, so if you want to select for, just click here. Yes, click there, and then the data displays. So this is a sample of searching for some specific commodities. And then if you look at the far right, you see some visualization boxes over there. So depending on what you want to display, this is a table. So if you want to see the line plots, you could put the data in whichever visualization you select over there. So you can select any of them and let's see how it works. So it plots the data based on what you select over there. Now let me talk briefly about the menu at the top. So here, you could export the data to any format that you want. So these are the formats available. If you go to the download, it's the same thing. There are some formats there that you can download it to. And then also we have the APIs for the data that you have generated. So if you want to use it within a certain application or dashboard, you could pick the API in the JSON, Python, R, or whichever format, and then import it into your application and then use it. So briefly, these are the two platforms that we are using to disseminate agriculture and rural statistics. I think I want to end here because of time, if there are no questions. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm trying to.
Okay. Because last time I had a problem, so for agriculture and food security, it is important to know agricultural land, degraded land, as well as crops, what crops are grown, and how much area under them might be shown on maps. And in the previous presentation, we saw nice gridded maps where you can select area. It goes to grids, even 1,000 meter per 1,000 meter. And then you can see what's going there. So something similar, do you have in your portal information, or are you planning to work on that? If you are not, whose task might be Ministry of Agriculture or some other institutions? Yeah, thank you.
I need help.
Yes, I think he's saying that, is it possible you can select an area, then identify the type of crops in that area?
Okay, so if you talk of area, are you talking of the regions?
Yes, maybe the district or region. I'm okay.
Yeah, so let's demonstrate another example. So Selassie, please let's go to my data set, data catalog.
Yes, question. Do you have a special component to this, or these are all tabular in format? Can we see it in a special, the special extent of, for instance, if you take the crops, do we know
Selassie,
where?
please go to the home page. Yeah, so I want you to see something from the home page. Now, it has features for spatial, like you see for the population data we have there. You could see some spatial information over there. If you look at the Ghana map, you go there, you can see it's telling you the population based on the region that you select here. Yes, it is.
For a region, or can we go sub-district level, or just an aggregation for each region?
Okay, so first let me emphasize that this portal is for aggregated data. We are still developing it. So they've introduced it to Ghana, and we are now building it. The first part that we are building is the portion for agriculture and rural statistics. which is what I have demonstrated. We have loaded data for that. But for the other ones, we are yet to actually work on them, especially with what you are talking about, if you are going through the hierarchy of the geographical areas, from region to districts to localities and all that. So we are still working on that, and we'll definitely get there where we'll have it on the spatial platform. But what we have done so far is what I am showing you. So it's still work in progress. Yes. I hope I've answered the question. Okay, so I think your question you were explaining has to do with how we can drill down to the other. Okay, so that's what I said. We are working on that. We'll still get there. But with the one I showed earlier, so lastly, let's go to let me just do the last one and then I'll be out of here. My data set. And then let's look at the production by region. Yes, exactly. So this one is just the region and the district. So we can select, okay, select all, and then come to commodity. Let's select one or two commodities. Indicator. So this is production data by region. So just let's see how it comes up. Just select one crop area, yeah. Select the table. So this is just data based on regions. So we want to go to how the region drills down to the district. But that's the final step. So Selassie, let's go back to the data sets, catalog and data sets. Now we look at this one, the third one. Yeah. So here you have the region. When you select a region, select Western, you can come and select the district here. So it will load all the districts under Western. Okay, there's a select a commodity and an indicator, and then we'll see the data. Yeah, so this is the lowest level we have for now, up to district. That's how the data came, the tables came in. So we are still building on it, and I'm sure the next time you check it, we might have data on localities and other geographical areas. Thank you very much.
Let's please put our hands together for our brother, Mr. Samuel Kwok. Please, we have received 5 different presentations. The floor is now open. If you have any general question or general concern, kindly identify yourself. We'll come to you with the microphone. Then receive the chairperson's closing remark. So please, if you have any general concern, how best we can improve on our product, how best we can collaborate as an institution, the floor is open now. So, whilst we wait for people to gather their thoughts, tomorrow we're going to have a special presentation on the 2022 Trade, Vulnerability and Poverty Analysis. And on Saturday, we are going to have a health walk and the fun games. I beseech all, the King James Bible will tell you, that let's try as much as possible and let's come and exercise. It's very, very important. So please, 6 o'clock, I'm told GS is going to lead the squad. So please, let's try as much as possible and be punctual. All national service personnel are supposed to be part of this exercise, as well as all staff. So please, and on 21st, we are going to have a release of another release. And please, let's all participate and ensure that this African statistics, the 75 years that we are celebrating, will be very successful.
Although I was sitting in front here, but I didn't feel behind me that anybody was sleeping. It shows how exciting the whole thing is. And I'm also excited because we've been led into what the Statistical Service has done so far and what is ahead of the service in the years to come. 75 years, that is a very ripe age. But you all agree with me that so far the service has gone places. The little that we have been led to today shows that it is doing a lot of innovative things. And it is doing everything to try to modernize data. Because for the first time, we threw away paper questionnaires and we did our census using tablets. And it made the whole thing fast and true to its nature. It enabled the service to release data the fastest in the history of census taking in the country. So you all agree with me that the Ghana Statistical Service has already made strides in the attempt to modernize data collection. And I'm happy that now it is taking a step to go beyond their own domain to try to include other areas so that they can access administrative data. Because studies have shown that that is where the real thing is. When it comes to censuses and surveys, it takes time to undertake them, and they are huge. But we can get administrative data almost every day. And I'm happy that the service is, going to that direction and try to, rake in as much of such data as possible. That is where the real thing is, and we should go there. So this MPI for the 30 districts has also opened our eyes to the new things that the service is doing. It has even added the luxury of trying to make data look beautiful. You see, numbers frighten people. That is why so many people don't go into data and other things. But if you are able to make them look beautiful, they attract you to them, and in so doing, you will learn something. So let us all pray and work hard that the service will continue in the way that it is treading, so that in the future, very, very short future, we will get all the necessary information that we need. So this is just the beginning of the celebration of Africa Statistics Day. Tomorrow and the days following it, there are other activities too. So I enjoin you to all come and join to participate in the celebration. And I know that in the end, we'll all benefit from it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Let's please put our hands together for Professor John Kwesi Anefi, a chairperson. Prof, we are grateful. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have now, we have come to the end of the program. I take this opportunity on behalf of the Director of Communication and Dissemination to thank everyone for making time to be with us from morning up to this time. We also like to thank our directors, the organizers of this program, our stakeholders, for making time to be with us this afternoon. What I want to say is that we have learned a lot. We have added on to our knowledge base. Let's keep on celebrating Ghana's Statistical Service. Once again, thank you very much for your time and enjoy your afternoon. But before that, before we leave this place, we need to pray before we leave. So respectfully invite our brother and Mr. Mohammed to please lead us in a prayer. Ibrahim. Please, let's put our hands together for him. Give us some. Today is not Friday, but we need a Muslim prayer. Take us to the Lord, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We thank Almighty Allah that we end this program successful. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa hayyul qayyum. La ta'zuhu sinatu lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil ard. Man zal ladhi yashfa'u indahu la bi'izni. Ya'lamu ma bayna aydi wa ma alfa wa la yaduna bi shay'in min ilmi illa bima sha'a. Wasi'a kursiyu samawati wal ard. Wa la ya'uzuhu suma wa huwa al-aliyyul azim. Amen.
This is powerful. Thank you very much, Sheikh. Please, the announcement is that please all staff, so please kindly be seated. We expect that our guests will leave first before we take our leave. Please, all staff, please remain seated and let's National Service personnel, please also wait. Let our guests leave first before we can also take our leave. Please. Thank you very much. Remix. Nuggets. Oh, we didn't bring me. Nothing nuggets. Nothing nuggets. Me da go to 2 city crime. Nothing nuggets. Increase the tempo now for us. The second session of the program. So on the 18th of November, that is on Saturday, we are meeting. We are moving a different style, please. Dress to kill, please. Come in your numbers. Let's exercise. It's very, very important. Nothing nuggets. So Saturday. Nothing nuggets. Nothing nuggets. My winning Bremo. Nothing nuggets. Mr. DJ, take me to a different level, please. Thank you. This is CK man. we can follow staff. It is strategic. Yes, staff any. Edamase. Director. It's the yes, staff any.